Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. Manu set up a try for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast, round 2 edition. With me tonight from off the bench, Roscoe, mate. Welcome back. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's good to be back. It's good to have the footy back, even if it was a shit first round.
At least it was shit for everyone. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
so not everyone. There's a few out here who we'll probably mention very soon who got a much nicer round. We can congratulate, but also secretly hate. How was your week, mate?
Yeah, it was okay. I got 838. It wasn't great. I mean, like everyone else, the big guns didn't fire. You know, Harry Grant 49, Cleary 30 odd, Hines 20 odd. It was just shambles. It really was.
Yeah, at least they're all highly owned though, so it's not the worst thing in the world. So
I'm happy to get it out of the way early.
Yeah, that's it. Don't have those ones in round 26 like last year. So, all right, and as always with us tonight, Glenn, mate. How was your week, mate?
Yeah, I had one of those weeks where my Supercoach score doesn't reflect the team, to be honest. Like, I had a lot of injuries, 3 injuries in my side, so I got 828. But I'm actually really happy with my side. I don't need to trade. I mean, every one of my benches, I've got 4 players, above 60 on my bench and a 50 as well. So I'm happy with my team. The guns didn't fire, like you, Cleary, Hines, Turbo, Ponga. I had Stili Tupanua, Piakura, a few others there. Another one, I can't remember who, but 3 injuries, 3 that went off really early. So, Lukey was the other one, but he ended up scoring okay.
Yeah, Lukey, we'll talk a bit more about him later because I've got some thoughts on Lukey, which I mentioned previously before the show started. But, they're definitely a bit of a shambles round. I was quite lucky to get a nice little, 963 decent start for me this year. I say decent start, pretty terrible start, but in comparison to the rest, it wasn't too bad. I will say that I think I'll put it down to I've got a couple of pods in my backup half positions that did quite well for me. So Metcalf and you'll laugh at this one, Roscoe. Ben Hunt is my backup halfback. I thought I'd go on a sneaky pod there. Very risky, but I thought, I'd have a crack at it, and he did pretty good. So, and obviously the sneaky little Laybutt, I bought Laybutt in as well to back up my other gun or potential gun in RTS. So decent score there. But yeah, definitely good to know I'm set up for the rest of I'm not trading this week either. I'm set up for the start of the season with a decent team, and I'm pretty good. So, alrighty, let's get started, guys. Let's quickly talk about our overall group. So in the Tragics overall group, guys, we have a leader, a very, very good start of the season, a very clear leader too, smashing out at 11.52. That's forgot about it. Joshua, great week, mate, great start. I'd like to be able to see the rest of your team and see how many nuffs you got, but so I'll have to have a little dig in there. But well done, mate. You still got a long way to go, but you're up there now in contention for that Supercoach Champions ring. So well done, mate. All right, and I think we should get started, guys. Let's get the team list going, eh?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Spirit Fingers.
Spirit Fingers, yeah, get this party started. Yeah. Last time Roscoe was on, we didn't have all these funny buttons to press. So
no, we didn't even have this. No, very technical, mate.
Technical, not really technical. I haven't changed it. I need to probably update them all because they're all pretty old now. But yeah. Alrighty, so first game we've got the Broncos versus the Rabbitohs. We're looking forward to this game. I think Rabbitohs are going to come out with something to prove after the first round. I'll start with you, Roscoe. Talking about the Broncos here. What kind of players here do you reckon? maybe targets if you want to do an early trade, or
No, I haven't really got anyone on the radar for the Broncos. Obviously, I'm like a few others who've got Jai Arrow, so I've got to move him on in the front row. I was looking at Corey Jensen, but I think his minutes were a bit inflated by the injury to Piakura, because obviously Paddy Carrigan moved out on the edge. So I want to have a look at him, but the only other one I really keep an eye on is Jesse Arthurs, just because he's that sort of cheapish sort of price as well. And obviously Haas is another one too, but I think, it's just a wait on him and wait until hopefully he can drop some cash and then potentially look at bringing him in.
yeah, the way he was playing on doing pretty much bugger all, but still rocking up those points. He might be a while before he drops in price. I think he's going to be setting that price range for a while now. So, but one thing that kind of stands out to me on this Broncos team list is still the gun the TP we wanted, still outside the top 17. Xavier Willison still out there. Anything like? Do you see him jumping in to power last minute, or do you think it's just you have to wait his turn?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he was named in the original team to come off the bench in Vegas and then dropped off with an hour to go, which we'd already had the early mail on that was going to happen. But I don't know. Maybe they just want to give him a couple of games in Q Cup first and then bring him in later on in the season, just get a bit of fitness up on him or something. But he's a gun of a player. He's got a great PPM. Just the minutes is obviously going to be an issue, even if he does come onto the bench. I don't see a lot of minutes there for him. Maybe during Origin, when they've got a few players out, could be a potentially good time to pick him up.
Yeah, definitely. It might be a good little gap filler when you're having those short buy rounds. So, Glenn, anything else on the Broncos before we move on to the Rabbitohs?
Well, if you don't know Piakura, I'd be getting all over that. I mean, Ezra Mann missed 100 tackles last year, and he missed 8 tackles last week. You'd have to be a fool to think that the Rabbitohs are going to target Ezra Mann, and Piakura is the man beside him who'll be defending that spot. So I see a lot of base stats going Piakura's way. The only other one that's kind of an honourable mention, I guess, is Walters. He turned out a fairly good price. If you look, just one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, the person, I can't remember the name of their team, but 007 something or other, who got the highest score this week, around the 1,200 mark. They're, I'd love to be able to bag them out by having 2 cheap hookers, but it paid off. Having Billy Walters and Lussick in the team, and Billy Walters would get like a 49, and to be honest, that was about same as what Harry Grant got, and he paid a fraction of the price. So, I'd rather have. Yeah, I've had to. I won't say anything about that, but but yeah, you got to think good to start with having the same kind of output from a $400,000 hooker as you are going to get from an $800,000 hooker with Harry Grant. But I'd still prefer to be in my position having Harry Grant in my team. So let's move on to the Rabbitohs. Latrell Mitchell, less than 10% owned. I was really surprised that I had him as a pod, Glenn.
Yeah, well, as you know, I had Ponga and Latrell, and then I ended up swapping Latrell to Turbo. I wanted to have the 2 goal-kicking fullbacks. Look, I didn't see enough from Latrell to make me worried. I really don't. I think he's lazy. I think that he's still good enough in the south side to still score well weekly, but he's not one of the ones that frightens me as much as someone like a Ponga or a Turbo can. I mean, you look at the work ethic of Turbo versus Latrell. If Latrell did half of what Turbo did, he'd be unstoppable. But
yeah, I think we mentioned it before the pod that on the field, even though the points didn't go Turbo's way, he was the better player. Turbo was the better player on that field than Latrell was. It's just because that line break try that Latrell got. That's why he got more points.
Yeah,
I think the biggest problem is Latrell goes missing a lot, and you saw that in the second half. I think he only scored 4 points in the second half. They're obviously dominating in the second half, but you got guys like Ponga and Turbo who are going to consistently score points even if they're not going too well. Like, look at Ponga, he's still got 50 in a team that got dominated. So, Latrell will be one to keep an eye on later, but I'm happy. I'm with you, same with you, Glenn. I've got Ponga and Turbo, and I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. I just can't believe how many people are trading Ponga out this week.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. I think
There's a-
people are just expecting a lot more from him in the round one. But if that's the case, then people will be trading out Cleary and they're trading out Hines, and Harry Grant, all the guys that didn't really
Yep.
pass the test. But it's game one. We all know. Like, if you look at the last 2 years, I'll only use Cleary as an example. Look at the last 2 years, mate. Cleary started off the 2 games of 45 point scores, and then after that he goes into his hundreds. It's players take time, especially they're getting their rhythm back again. Like they're trying to get their combinations going. Most of them have got new teams, new teammates, and they're going to get these combinations working right. So yeah, sorry, Glenn.
There's a lot of players of interest in this South Sydney side, though, from my perspective. Let's start with Callis Duncan. I wouldn't be touching him straight away. He's coming back off an injury. He's carrying a bit of a niggle. I think it's in his calf, if that's correct.
Yeah, calf niggle, yeah.
Yeah, so just wait for the third game. But he's definitely one of interest. And the other one that stood out to me, and I'm annoyed, I looked at him at a couple of $100K cheaper than Harry, and I kept looking, and I thought, don't do it. You did it last year. Was Damien Cook. I actually liked what I saw from Cookie this year. He looked a lot more engaged around in the opposition's 20. He was taking runs. He was making a lot of tackles like he always does. And the other obvious ones are Totola and Sean Kepi could be one of interest to keep an eye on as well.
With that bench rotation, I was literally looking at, because I got Totola in my team and I really had my backup, and I thought if nothing happens to that bench, I'll be trading him straight away, because there was nothing happened. There was no injuries really, and he still managed to only get like 43 minutes. I was literally going to go straight from Totola to May, build up a little bit of cash. So I think it's like $5,000 I get in my bank. And then I saw the bench make up, and I thought I'm going to give him another couple of weeks potentially, see how it goes with Arrow out. So obviously we haven't touched on that yet, but Arrow being out, a lot of people trading him. Roscoe, mate, who are you looking at? Like, who do you think's about that? Like around that price range?
Well, obviously the most popular one is Tyrrell May. But I've even got questions around that too. I mean, inflated minutes last week due to the injuries to Wong and Tupanua. I still think you'll get like around about that 45-minute mark with a great PPM, so I don't hate it. But you look at all the other options around about that price. Lolo only got 21 minutes last week. You got Flegler, who's highly bought in this week. He's got a bye next week. There really isn't much else, to be honest with you. A lot of people jumping on Josh Kerr again. They've got a bye next week, so I wouldn't be trading guys like that in. But there really isn't any other options, Dan, unless you can get the cash to upgrade to one of the guns, which no one's going to have 300K sitting in their bank. There isn't really much else to go for. So I'm just going to go for May for the moment and just ride it with everyone else.
Yeah, I think you're right, because like you look at Arrow's out for a little bit. You could almost like wait one more week, and if you've got the coverage, you can wait one more week, leave him on your bench. He's not going to go down in price, and then just to get one more week of vision of what the forward rotations are looking like. And if May is the guy, and he does get that 50 to 60 minutes, which he got 63 minutes last week, if he is that guy, then you feel safer doing that move. But I think you're right. They inflated minutes there. I think you're about 45, 50 points, which is still good. But that's why I decided to stick with Totola for one more week at least.
I think the other thing I was going to mention too about that as well. You got Hargreaves coming back into that team as well. So I don't hate your idea of what you said, but I don't really want to be playing Sam Hughes or Henry, in my team. So I think I'll just bite the bullet and make the trade. But the other one we should speak about too for South is Jacob Gagai as well, who's highly traded in this week. There's been a lot of mail around that he hasn't been training at on that wing spot. It's actually been Tane Milne who's been training there. So one to keep an eye out for late mail, because obviously they play first, so you can reverse your trade.
Yeah, if you've got him though, you probably can't do anything about it. So, in saying that, a lot of people we'll talk about him later, but a lot of people fall in the trap of getting that Tigers cheapie as well. But he's only there for Olam for as long as Olam was out for. So,
and he'd be a sit this round as well. For those that are talking about sit starts, I wouldn't be playing Gagai anyway versus the Broncos edge. They've got very good defending backs.
Yeah, but both sides.
I think the biggest problem there is that you've got to make a decision, Glenn, and it's like Tuapiki from the Warriors. Do you play him instead? They play Melbourne in Melbourne. Like it's you're going to have. I know.
I left them both on the bench last week. That both those players sat on my bench last week, and while I played it, I got Salmon, Turbo, May. I mean, I got a 72, 67, 46. I can't be unhappy, and then a 29 from Salmon.
Yeah, I played Salmon over Tuapiki as well.
Yeah, I did too. I just thought, lock in the middle, it's guaranteed some points. I expected more from Salmon as they're playing playing like a 5-8. Wasn't.
The problem was that after half time he went to the centres for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
And
that's
he scored
right.
nothing. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'll give him one more week, and then he's on the chopping block.
yeah.
Well, that kind of segues into the next game anyway. So Sharkies versus the Bulldogs. Like Sharkies great comeback last week. I'm not sure how Hines got so little score when I think he played pretty well, to be honest with you. Any
I don't know if
players?
it was well enough to get 6 Dally M points though.
Oh, no way, no! Oh my god, that was ridiculous.
Jesus.
It's
Honestly,
defense. You got to preach
in a losing
defense.
side, AFB should have got that 6 points. He had a cracker again.
100%.
He was great.
He's
He was
dangerous
great.
every time. Yeah. So obviously we've still got in the forward rotation there Oregon Kafusi, and was it Hunt? Yeah, he started last week.
He got benched. Yeah.
Yeah, he got benched. Yeah. So and that's with Rudolph in the team there. So any love for these cheapies, or is there better options out there?
No.
Yeah. So our YouTube viewers can see the head shaking, but our Spotify listeners might need to get a verbal consent there. So that's a no. No, I agree. I think the minutes there, especially with Hamlin Ueli coming back as well. So and another, I wouldn't say big minute forward, but a dominant forward that will probably try and demand minutes. So I think they're a no-go from me. Anyone else on this team? Braden Trindle. What do you think of Braden Trindle, Roscoe?
I didn't mind what I saw from him. I thought he was okay in patches. I expect him to go a lot better this week against the Dogs. It's a tough game going over to New Zealand to win too. Like they're not an easy team to beat over there. I'm expecting him to bounce back this week. Hopefully, he doesn't take too many points off Hines though, because he's going to be my VC as well as most other people this week. Pretty much everybody probably.
Yeah, I think he did pretty good for the price point. I think he's definitely a decent option there. I want a different way, which I mentioned earlier. But anything else, Glenn, from the Sharkies that you'd be looking at?
Oh, I want to talk about Hines and Trindle. I just want to put it out there. I said 4 weeks ago I think Trindle's going to impact Hines. I'm going to stand by that stance. I do agree that he'll score this week well against the Bulldogs, but I still think that Trindle and Hines are so similar left and right side of the field that I think that Hines' Supercoach input this year could be an issue. But as for anyone else, no. I mean, Teague Wilton played a beautiful game, but everyone there's an expensive player. They're all guns. I mean, I could pick anyone in that side as a gun to buy, but as for money or points per dollar, no.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, the ones I like, and obviously they're a bit more expensive, is like Mulatalo and Katoa too. I don't mind them this week against the Dogs as well. I think they can carve it up down that side.
And I think Katoa's at a massive discount too. Katoa's at a massive discount compared to Ronaldo. So if you get him at the right time in the right games, you might be able to get a nice.
There's only one problem with Katoa. Glue hands Ramian doesn't pass the ball.
That's it. Ramian should be a winger, I think. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Dogs. A lot to talk about here. Taff had a shocker, same as the trials. No surprise there. I'm not sure how long we can really sit back and the coaching staff can sit back and watch him make mistake after mistake until they start moving one of the billion other fullback options they've got available for him. So, one player that I'm actually really excited by, and he's been looking pretty good for a while, and that's Blake Wilson.
Yeah.
I think he could be a potential sneaky option to get in your team as a pod because just watching that footwork that he has a very underrated step. That step puts a lot of people wrong-footed and turns them around. He has a really good step.
And quick.
Bulldogs, acceleration quick as well, which is what you want.
Yeah.
So I think he definitely could be a sneaky pod to look at when they get a decent run in there and bring him in. So anyone else in here, Glenn, that you
well, just Ming. I think Ming and Salmon are obviously worth talking about. I mean, Salmon, if you need to trade down, I mean, he did get moved to centre last week, which did affect his output. And Max King played good minutes. He didn't score as well as you would have liked, but I still think that he showed enough to me that if you own him, I wouldn't be letting him go.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting him to play 42 minutes again this week. I think he'll get more minutes. He only played 42, and he's got a good PPM, so he's definitely a hold for me.
Yeah, agreed.
He's good to watch.
And often at the start of the season, Roscoe, some forwards will play less minutes as they work their way into the season. So just keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah, one thing I'm sure a lot of people will feel the same way is Posa Famasuli had a bit of a. I guess it was, you could have guessed he plays for 20 minutes and then gets off the field. I guess there was a lot of talk about that potential fear, but everyone kind of saw the green dot, me included, and got excited for it. And he got a pretty low minutes, low score. What do you think? What are your thoughts there? Is he definitely one that you potentially just go, you know what, just burn that bridge?
Slow burn.
Yeah. Is he even going to go up in money though? His break even's higher than what he scored last week. So.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I wouldn't personally. You could go to Henry or one of them others, but they're not making enough for that to be worth it. Like, leave your front row bench alone. Just cop whatever it is. From my perspective, there's too many important spots to fill in.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Unless there's a cheapie that comes along that starts to get decent minutes, and I just think you just got to hang on. I've got him and I've got Sam Hughes as well. I've got them both, and I've got Henry. So I've got three of them. They're the potential aren't going to make me much cash.
However, Sam Hughes did get a nice little hefty boost in upgrades.
Yes.
From like 19 to 31 or something ridiculous.
I was happy with that. Very happy.
Just shows you that we all knew that he was going to be a PPM beast, and I believe that's his offloads that really kicked in. And I'm hoping to see some more of him this year. I think he might be the guy that you play as your backup, even though he's on the bench. He might be that guy you play as your third backup when there's a bye in the front row there for you. Another player I was quite impressed with NRL wise was Jacob Preston, continuing his great
absolutely
on. Another option there, I believe, is very safe and potentially get a ceiling out of him if you need to. But there's just too many options at that position at the moment, I think. So
I'm a huge fan of any second row that defends in the middle, and Preston is one of those. Like, he doesn't just defend at second row; he slides, and any second rower that does that, you're going to get a better base from. And Preston does that well, and he's a competitor.
I'm going to say you're under exaggerating what he was doing. He was defending on the right hand side. I saw he literally would run to the other side of the field to make a tackle, and then run back and make another tackle on the left hand side. It was good to watch.
Well, he's on the right hand side.
Oh, yeah, he's on the other side. So he moved from.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I just like correcting people.
I was facing a different direction, so it was his right, my left. Bronson Xerri, won't talk about him because he's sitting there and he's in the bench there. He's going to get a bit more time in reserve grade, I believe. So I think we should.
Curran's a hole too.
Yeah, Curran. Yeah, I think he got more minutes than I expected. I didn't have him.
I think that was because of the injury too. He probably would have got more minutes because of the injury.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the game of the week. It's always a good grudge match, Panthers versus the Parramatta Eels.
Says who?
It's always a grudge match, man. It's like, even when the Parramatta Eels are like second last and we're coming first, they still bloody beat us. It's a grudge match. It's great to watch. They hate each other. It's just, I love watching the game. I turn my social media off because I get too angry, but I really enjoy watching it still. So Nathan Cleary had a bit of a average game, but I think NRL wise, he looked pretty good. So I think he's just trying to get those form. That he was the best player for the Panthers, I believe, besides maybe Tylan May. Sorry, is it Tylan May? There's Toonie May. Taylor. Yeah. So I think Cleary, he'll be back into his Cleary scoring points in no time. A lot of people talking about Henry. Is it worth, if you haven't got him, is it worth going there, Roscoe?
I don't think so, unless you're looking to downgrade someone to free up some cash.
Yeah, like Palacia.
I wouldn't be going like a sideways trade. Yeah, maybe Palacia.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be doing a sideways trade. I wouldn't be doing a sideways trade like of Poasama or whatever his name is, or Sam Hughes or anything. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. But if you're going Palacia down, I don't hate that either. You'll bank yourself 100k or whatever it is as well.
Mm. And if to me as well, if Salmon has a terrible game, I've got a few jewels I can move around and I can trade him out and go that way if I need to. But I probably can stay away from now. And there's other options for me there. One big name that I'm excited to see, that I want to see how he goes back from injury, Scott Sorensen.
Yeah.
Potentially one of the guns we want to get into our team from last year's form. Be good to really have a look at how he goes. I think he was like the third highest priced second rower, I'm pretty sure. So, but definitely something like to aspire to, depending on how he goes. He might drop some cash at the start of the season.
The standout player too also was Taylor May. Let's not forget him. I mean, he had in the World Cup Challenge and in that game last week, he was just everywhere. He was big. He was strong. He looks bigger to me. I don't know if it's just an illusion or if he is actually bigger, but he looked big, powerful.
He's
and
not on the he's not all the way on the wing. He's closer to you, so he looks bigger because
yeah, that could be it. Who knows? and I just want to give a little shout out to Taruva. Taruva's only 500k. Like, if you're looking for a pod, as the Penrith draw smartens up, and it does in a few rounds, he could be a little pod play.
I like that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I think I didn't think Taylor May would fit so well into centre straight away. That's why I stayed away from him. I know what he can do. He's definitely got gun potential from when he was playing on the wing, but I was a bit hesitant going their way just to start off the season. But definitely something to look forward to in the future.
He's there. He's going to turn up. He's going to turn up a lot this year too, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what he reminds me of. This is going to sound kind of me being a Panthers fan. Remember last year when Targa went on that run in centre?
Yeah.
He just made room on that side, and he's now on that side, and Targa's on the other side. So I think that's what you're going to see with that extra. You're going to see that's the game plan, and they're going to be making plenty of space there for Taylor May. So, all right, Parramatta. We'll start with the one that sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's Moses, or sticks out like a sore groin also, because he had a bit of a injury on the weekend. I'm not going to lie to you, as a Panthers fan, and I hate Parramatta. I was happy to see him in pain. I don't like seeing an injury, so just pain's okay. And he scored less points, and I haven't got him. So, do you guys have him?
No, I've got Moses and I've got Cleary and Hines, but I did have Moses. I preached him to anyone that would listen a few weeks ago. I
traded him to Ben Hunt as a pod move, like just before the game started. As I was like, I'm sticking to my gut, and my gut says Ben Hunt. So, and that's why when I watched him get sore, I was like, because at the start of the game, Moses looked bloody dangerous. He was looking like the best half of the comp in that first half, and then he got injured, and I was like, oh. He was on the same score as Cleary at the first 15 minutes, mate. So I was scared watching that. And then
I was death riding him when he was sitting on 30 after like 20 minutes, and then he got injured. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, that's that.
Yeah. So, but I think if he starts if his legs fully healed and he's all right to go, definitely looking at him, he looks very impressive. So
yeah.
Another gun player that I thought was actually quite well, we spoke about in preseason, Hopgood. I think Hopgood was very, very impressive, offloading at will, running some good lines, demanding the ball. Thoughts there? Oh, sorry, Glenn.
I thought Hopgood was fantastic. I didn't know who you were talking to. Yeah, I liked Hopgood. I mean, he was the one player I actually considered locking into my second row as a gun, but because we had so much value in that position, I ended up not doing it. Aiden Fanua-Blake and Preston Campbell were two that I wanted to fit into my team, and I didn't end up getting either of them.
We had a bit of a heated discussion on one of the chats last week about a certain cheap hooker that I used to bag everyone else for getting, and the reason why was because there was no options, and everyone was like, "Yay, Danny Levi is the king." Blah blah blah. I initially had Api Coruscant and Robson. And everyone, even though I said I don't like any other cheap options, I backed out when I saw there was an option. So I went Lussick, knowing that if he failed, I can go to Danny Levi and still make some cash. So, and in the end, Lussick was a good option. He played pretty well. What are your thoughts there, Roscoe?
He looked good. No, he looked good. He set up a try. He kicked a 40-20. He did look really good. definitely one to keep an eye on. That's for sure. I mean, at his price, he played a lot of minutes. I think Hands didn't play much at all, and I think they were
I think
both
he
on the
played
field.
20.
I think they were both on the field at one stage too for a little while. But yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye on. So for sure.
Yeah, I think I don't know if that was the game plan. I thought the game plan would have been playing 50-50, so half the game each. But then he just started off that half so good, very energetic, running the ball, looking scary, looking dangerous. And I think Arthur's just stick to it. And he changed. I think that's what happened. I think he earned that spot in that one half. But in saying that, there's always gonna be that fear of having Hands there. So there's only one game. We can't really. Especially with Arthur's, with Captain Pookie Bananas there at the helm, you don't know what's going to go on. Anyone else strike your fancy from this team, Glenn?
No, I mean, on Lussick, I just want to say that I came into that argument late and I bagged Danny Levi. I told everyone Danny Levi's stats don't support it. When I realised the argument was so heavy, I stepped back out and just stuck with my Lussick. I had Lussick anyway, so it didn't matter. No, I thought Cartwright, mate. I mean, I like what I saw from Cartwright. He was here, there, everywhere. He was offloading. I think he had stack offload, stack of tackle bust. Parramatta were offloading at will. So just keep that in mind. Keep watching that if that's part of their game plan, because offloads equal Supercoach points, and a few of them can equal a lot of Supercoach points. So yeah, that'd be the one I'd watch. Lane, obviously.
Yeah, I can guarantee you it'll happen again next week, because Panthers' weakness is offloads, and Parramatta have uncovered that. Yeah. Every time they played the last few times, they upped their offload game, and that's what puts us on our back foot in defence. Panthers cannot defend it. So that's why I reckon Parramatta win next week against Penrith, and I think there'll be a lot more offloads. So Cartwright, I reckon might be, if you can afford it, jump on.
I think Penrith will win, but I do like what I see from Parramatta. But what I was going to say is that any side like Penrith, Melbourne, that use that structured sliding defence are always going to struggle with offloads, because anytime you create second phase, you create problems for them, because they get numbers in, right? When you get numbers in, offloads means less numbers, you know what I mean, for the next person. So, and Parramatta have worked out that formula very well. And it should be a good game. I am looking forward. I still don't think it's the game of the round, though.
Oh, yeah, it is, because it's Panthers. So
because you're a Panthers supporter.
I went into one of my drafts a couple of days ago, and Cardi Party was sitting there, not owned by anyone. Straight on him, mate. Straight into my team.
Oh, I love it.
I was like, yes.
Before we
go, what about
Maddo
too? Don't forget Maddo too, because Maddo was good off the bench as well, as usual. He was very solid as well.
There was nothing out of the ordinary with him. It's like, if you get him in your team, you're guaranteed 60 points. You're guaranteed 60 minutes. It's just dandy. So if you want someone safe, Houses is going to score 60 every week. He's the guy. He's definitely the guy. Before we move on, Glenn, you were talking about Lane as well before I interrupted you rudely.
Yeah, I was just saying, I mean, Lane outside of Dylan Brown, I like. The fact that he got 80 minutes was handy. I didn't think he would. I was actually a skeptic on that, but I think both those second rowers will be the second rowers to the season, and that's pretty handy to know. At his price point, Lane to form a gun, in my opinion. Once he gets his fitness after 3 or 4 rounds, you should see a better looking, left edge.
No, that's good to me. I didn't start him.
I didn't end up starting him because I was worried about Tuolungi on the bench, thinking he wouldn't get the 80 minutes. So I ended up going Lukey instead, even though I knew Lukey wasn't going to get 80 either. I just thought, better draw. But I'll probably own Lane at some stage. We'll see how he goes.
Yeah, I didn't have Lane either. I went Lukey as well, but I'm actually getting in Lane this week. It's my only trade.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the next game, guys. The Junior Raiders, big upset last week. Honestly, I don't know if it was them being good or if it was Newcastle having a Cowboys-like, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Reversal of form. It was just, they were horrible. The Knights were just terrible. But in saying that, props to the Raiders. They did some good things there. Smithies, the new Sean Fenton, I believe, very solid there in defence. And if he doesn't get HIA, we don't know what his minutes are going to be like, Ross.
Yeah, it's we don't know either. That's the thing, and we also don't know what's going to happen when Horse comes back either. Well, I think we're all we're all hoping that obviously that Horse goes into the middle, starts with Papali on the bench. But I didn't catch the game because I was busy doing other things. From what I heard, Josh Papali had a really good stint for the first 20 minutes and was really solid. So, but at the same time, Smithies apparently was really good too. So, nice little headache there for Ricky. And with his Ricky roulette, we don't know what he's going to do. So, obviously, hopefully he can still get about 50 minutes and then, still churn out around 50 to 60 points each week. He'll make us cash, that's for sure.
Oh, the way he was playing, mate, he'd pump out a PPM of 1 in just base alone, the way he was going, looking very, very solid, wanted to make to every tackle. And we don't know what his minutes would have been if it wasn't HIA. Glenn?
Yeah, well, just on the game itself, I thought that the Raiders looked like they wanted it more than the Knights. Some of the Knights forwards were really left wanting up the middle. The players of interest, obviously, Smithies, I thought was really good in the middle. He reminded me of Hoskins, actually, in the way that he played to take out the offload, but the defending part of it, and in every tackle, he was, very active. He took a fair few runs as well. Hudson Young, I thought, was incredible yesterday. But the one of interest, there's a couple to me. So Savage on the wing at his price point, I think could be one that people could take a look at. I personally don't like Danny Levi, but if you own him now, I wouldn't be selling him. I just think that there's nothing. Keep your eye on Lussick, and in round 3, if Lussick continues that role, then maybe you can go from Levi to Lussick. But yeah, they're the two.
I think one thing as well, and I was pretty hard on people having a go at them for doing the Levi thing. But when you think about it, they got lucky. But you got to think about our cheapie centre wings of past every year. We get those cheapie centre wings, and you get lucky, and that's how you make money. It's just that's how it is. And with the Raiders forward pack like that, you know what? There's a lot of chances that Levi will get lucky because he has a very strong forward pack to work behind, wait for that offload and get some goals. So,
and we don't know his minutes. I mean, he had an injury, so he came off. So we don't know exactly what minutes he was planning to get.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because he played that good game as well, Ricky might go, you know what? Let's give you some more minutes. So,
but with a PPM of 0.5 and an average of, let's say, 50 minutes, I'm not liking that at all. I'm looking at a lot of 25s coming from Levi from my perspective.
Yeah.
Any love for Zach Hoskins?
Yes.
I've always loved Zach Hoskins, even when he was at the Broncos.
No, I know you do.
Yeah, he runs nice line.
I loved him before he went to the Penrith, mate. Thank you very much. I loved him at the Broncos.
My only fear on Hoskins, Roscoe, is where Horse's role comes back into it. I think Horse will probably come on and play through the middle. That's just my view. But he could come back at lock. It could even come in at second row. There could be because he has played second row before, and he could push Hoskins out.
Yeah, unlikely, but possible. I got Whitehead to come back in as well.
And Whitehead as well. That's right. So I'd wait for those two things to happen, mate, and then make a call, because we all know what the Raiders are like with switching around the forwards.
Yeah, that's it.
And halves.
That's it. Well, let's move. Oh, another one I will say, Nick Kotrick was the one to drop out, but I don't think that's the final decision. I believe that if Savage has a bad game, then next week it'll be different again. So I think it's still Kotrick's still floating around there, doing what he can do. But if you brought him in, would you hold him?
Who's that?
Kotrick.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, we said last week on the show that he'll be the first one to drop out, and we were right. It was always. I mean, I'll put my hand up. I had Kotrick, and I looked again at it last week, and I thought, no, it's just not a good play. And I went to Labour, believe it or not, and then went back from Labour to Salmon.
Yeah. I think you can hold him for now, Dan, and have a look at Talau and see how Talau goes next couple of games, because you'll get
wait.
Basically a straight swap, right? So just wait and see what happens. Give Talau a couple of games, see how he goes. Because if he has a shocker, he could be out too, and they could bring God knows who in. So I'd just hold him for now, and then unless you're struggling for a fourth, reserve, I'd just hang on to him for now. See what happens. He's definitely not the same player that he used to be, like the tackle busting, machine that he used to be. I don't know. It's like he's had an injury and he hasn't come back properly as well, and he just doesn't have. He's not as quick as he used to be. So
that's it. I think he's holding back a bit, and that's what they tend to after getting a really bad injury, and they're getting a lot of them. That you tend to hold back a bit. So, but we'll move on to I guess the the second best team of this podcast, and that's the Tigers. I'll start with you, Glenn, mate. Who are you looking forward to seeing in this game? Because it's their first game, obviously.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching Lachlan Galvin. He's an Australian schoolboys great player. He's a really good player. But having said that, Caesar's named on the bench. I'm not sure how that's actually going to happen. He's been carrying some injuries, Caesar. So he could even be a late swap. Sullivan, I'm not sure. Caesar, he's one. And the other thing I wanted to point out was with that bench, I think that it could be very good for Stefano Utoikamanu. So anyone that's held him or Apai, I think they're good buys. I really like Apai Coruscant as well.
Yeah, because you've got to look at your lock forward. You've got Seyfarth in there, but then you've got Pole, who's clearly going to take over from him. So, and then we've got Fainu and Twal, the only ones that will take minutes from Stefano, I believe, anyway. Thoughts there, Roscoe?
Yeah, I think so too. I like what I see for that bench for Stefano, and it's I'm contemplating going Stefano over to May, to be honest with you, just as a bit of a pod, because no one's going to go him. He's going to get similar minutes to what May's going to get as well, maybe more. But I guess the other one is Lachlan Galvin. I'm so excited to see this bloke. Massive raps on him. I actually have him as my backup 5'8". I won't play him this week with Caesar being on the bench, obviously, but I'm just excited to see how he goes. I mean, he's only 18, this guy, and he's just a freak. Can't wait to see him. But obviously, the other one we should talk about is the centre. How do you want to pronounce his name, Dan?
Ape. There we go. I'm getting good at these ones. Yeah,
just don't trade him in because Justin Mullen's due back next week.
Yeah, that's all we didn't. Yeah, we mentioned that before, that we know Olam's, so it's next week, so you guys know inside word there next week. So, and there's no way. I still love watching young fellas like this, like the young Islander boys. They got a point to prove, and they come out with some crazy flair and stuff. So, it's really good to watch him have a crack, especially with another player that I'm excited to see is Jarian Buller. Always exciting to watch to play. So, looking at his team on paper, look at the forward pack. If you take out Alex Seyfarth, you got Bateman, Papali, Clemmer, Appy, and Stefano. That's a quality looking forward pack there.
And Pole as well. I rate Pole.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If you take Seyfarth out, put Pole in there instead. To me, that's a very good front row forward pack.
It's a formidable, but it was last year as well.
I know, that's the thing. They need to work together. They need to get that team mentality going to get to where they need to be.
To be fair, Seyfarth did look good in the trials though, so I'm not surprised that he's getting the first crack, but I wouldn't be trading him in. I want to see what sort of minutes he gets first because he's a good price. He's not expensive. He's only about $320, so he's definitely one to keep an eye on. But I wouldn't be jumping on him just yet.
And you heard it here first. The Tigers will win this game. Righto. We'll revisit this next week.
Jeez.
I told you they'd win the first round, and I was right.
Hey, listen, we won't finish higher than where we are now on the ladder, okay? This will be the highest it will be all season.
We will beat the Raiders. Mark my words.
Oh, boy.
Alrighty. I've just lost all my team lists because my computer went all wackadoodle, but that's alright. I found them again. Anyone else here, guys? Appy? A lot of talk about getting Appy as your backup hooker or your hooker. What are your thoughts here?
I'm not keen on Appy. It's only just me because I know he's got the goal kicking, but especially if that bench stays the same too, he may not get 80 minutes as well. There's a good chance that maybe Sullivan or Caesar plays a bit of dummy half as well, and obviously, we need to score points as well for him to kick goals.
Well, that's possible. I agree with you on the fact that he might not play 80. However, I do think that as a goal kicking hooker, you'd be insane not to at least keep an eye on him. Apai is very creative around the ruck, and I think in a forward side, I can see moments of him putting big forwards over. So if you got him, I don't hate it at all, actually. I don't mind it. And you've got a straight run to 13 now with no buys going forward.
I'll be looking at someone like him to turn Lussick into later on. Around that kind of midpoint there. So I'll be looking for a guy around that price point as a stepping stone.
Oh, he won't be that price point for long.
No, I just think that he's definitely someone to keep an eye on because he does like to get into a tackle too. He likes to make a lot of tackles. So All righty, let's have a look. Anyone else before we move on to the next game, guys?
No, mate.
No, let's look at the Cowboys and my man Zach Labart. What a cracker of a game! That dummy, I call it the Lomax dummy because it was like the Lomax slick pass, but didn't actually let go. That was a gorgeous little try. And what are your thoughts on the Cowboys? Do you reckon they're going to come back? I'll ask you, Glenn.
I thought the Cowboys the other night were incredible. They played some really good football. The Warriors and the Cowboys really stood out to me, both teams. I thought the Warriors first half, and we'll get that, and the Cowboys just played really nice, neat football. What they did do, though, was it did hurt Scott Drinkwater. The way that they've changed their game a little bit actually impacted Drinkwater quite a bit. But the rest of it, I was good. I was impressed with Robertson. I was impressed with Lukey, Cotter, Labor. You know, they played a good game, and Nanai, of course. Yeah, I think the Cowboys are in the top 8 this year from what I saw, but it's only early. Let's give them a few rounds and see.
Yeah. Who stood out for you, Roscoe?
Well, definitely Labour, although we all know that shouldn't have been a penalty try. But anyway, that's another topic.
I think it should have been a penalty, and it should have been.
Yeah, it should have been a penalty and a sin bin, but not a penalty try. Because you can't. There's no way you can say he was definitely going to score that try.
I was literally like, let it be a penalty try. Let it be a penalty try in my head, and then it happened. And I was like, I can't believe that happened.
For me, Robson, I thought Robson was great too. Like Glenn said, I thought he was really, really good. Made a lot of runs out of dummy half, which you know him and Buddy Damien Cook play their best games when they make those runs out of dummy half and just run that ball. And obviously Val Holmes, I can't forget him. He was just in beast mode as well. So
he was hit up after hit up, and it looked hard. He looked like hard runs too. You look at Labart, got 2 tries or 1.5 tries, and Holmes still outscored him with
But he got obviously a lot of goals, a lot of points in goal kicking though as well.
It's just he looks so safe.
Yeah,
Do you know who really stood out to me in that game? Sorry, Ross. I
was just going to say I started one gun centre wing, and it was down to Marzu or Holmes, and I'm pretty sure you know who I picked. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, there's a pod play in here of a player I really like, which I thought Dearden. I thought Dearden actually played really well, and in a draw that's fairly easy for the Cows going forward, or one of the better draws, I think that Dearden could be an interesting pod. You know, for someone who's really desperate and they're changing out Ponga or Dylan Brown, which I wouldn't be doing either, but those that are, Dearden could be an interesting pod play. I prefer someone coming up in the next game, though.
Yeah, I also like the idea of, because like a lot of the play, like when you select your team at the start, you think, oh, I've got too many of this team, too many players from this team. But the Cowboys don't have a bye until round 14. They play from 1 to 13 straight, so you can get those extra players. Especially, that's why I didn't mind getting the Ruben Cotters and the Labart. And at one point, I had the Reece Robson as well, and Lukey. I want to say one thing about Lukey, and he went off with a HIA. Did you notice when the Finafuki came on, Labart did not? Lukey did not come off. He went into lock. He went off with a HIA. So I reckon he is playing 80. I haven't got him in my team, and I'm very upset about that. But I reckon he looks amazing. He's going to play on the edge, and then Finafuki's going to come on. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, and play the edge and push Lukey into the middle, because they are talking about making him an 80-minute player, and he was looking very good. And in the middle, especially, 20 minutes PPM should go through the roof. Roscoe?
I hope you're right there, Dan, because I own him, and I was only expecting probably 60, 65 out of him with Finifaki or whatever his name is on the bench. And the thing for me was he went off with the HIA, he came back on, he scored the try, and then they took him off again. I don't know if that was because they were just winning so easy. I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty happy as an owner from him. I swapped Sean Lane to him last minute. That was my swap out. You know, so I'm not too unhappy about that, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Well, we won't get too much into this because I don't think it's very relevant for Supercoach, but everyone's talking about Lolo getting 21 minutes.
Warned him.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just more NRL, watching NRL. I think it's wrong. I think he needs to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely wrong.
It's wrong because he can do what he can do. And if you are going to play him for that many times, he needs to get the ball like twice a set. to be that impactful, but it's just not happening. So
Especially for a bloke who's on $1 million a season too. Like, let's
yeah.
face it. Like, I think he may have. I think they would have brought him back on if they went in so easy. But even then, like, I think he'll play a lot more minutes this week. I really do against the Knights. I think you'll see more minutes. But I can see why people are selling him. I really can.
One thing that I can look at, you look at what Sam McIntyre got, 60 minutes like he got. Is that going to happen every week? No. I think he got the extra low minutes. That's what I thought. So we'll move on to game or next team in this game. No, the Knights. So Jenkins comes in on the wing there. So I don't know. I think he's too high priced. He played a couple of games last year. He was around I think he's around the high 4s, isn't he?
I thought he was more than that. I thought he was in the 5s.
Yeah, it was something ridiculously high.
Yeah, he's very high up.
Yeah, definitely someone to watch though. I think he can get some tries there, but I'm not sure how long he'll be there for. I do like Marzu in this game. I think I actually like the Knights in this game. I think if you look at the history, Ponga obviously come from the Cowboys, so he likes to show up. He likes to turn up against his old team. So I think there might be a good game to watch here with Ponga playing as well. Glenn?
Yeah, I agree with you. Although I watched Ponga closely last week against the Raiders, and I don't know. I didn't like anything I saw from them. I agree with you on Marzu and Bradman Best, but yeah, the only one of interest really is KPP. And if you own him, great. If you don't, I wouldn't be buying him yet.
No, we don't really. Oh, 602K or just.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I just looked it up.
602K. Bloody hell! Wow.
I think the biggest issue for the Knights was why did they have 4 halves on the field at the same time last week? They had Cogger, Gamble, who's the other ones, Glennie?
Crossland and Hastings.
They're all on the field at the same time.
I reckon you call Crossland's a half.
I don't think it's Crossland's. There's someone else. I think there's someone else. I don't think it's Crossland's, but yeah, I don't know. It's just.
I just think watching, I reckon they had a game plan to attack the weaker side, which is the weaker side for the attack for Knights. They need to go to that left edge, which they just didn't do. They attacked one side. You notice when they go to the left side, they got to try. Like it was just weird. They need to go back to Ponga's what fits. They shouldn't be attacking the team they're playing. They should be playing to Ponga's strengths, and that's the left edge.
They kept cutting Ponga out. That was my fear. Like, Ponga got cut out of the play in their own 20 a lot. And I was like, why are they doing that? And they're running him as a decoy. And if that's going to keep happening, that won't be good for Supercoach. I think they've set up plays now to look like going out the back to Ponga and then playing short.
Yeah. Alrighty. Really, no one else really to talk about in this game. Obviously, we got, like we mentioned before, KP is poor. We don't know how long Lucas is really going to be out for, probably just the 1 week with the HIA, so we don't really know what's going to happen there. But he did look good. I really liked what I saw from him. He got, what did he get, like 60 minutes and got 45 points in base on that? Pretty good effort.
The only other one I don't mind is a bit of a pot is Frizzell too.
I've always, Frizzell's that guy that'll get you a big score 1 week, but then just plot along for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
I like him to be a safe player, but I'm trying to avoid safe plays. I want to go front row for my safe players. I want to look a bit more higher end and a bit more upside, and he gets it every now and then. But I think he's always shown that glimpse of greatness at the start of the year, and it makes everyone think the same way you just thought. Then, I want to get Frizzell in, but definitely some guy. I think I was same boat as you last year. I wanted to get him in, and I backed out. Glenn talked me out of it, and I was right to do so. Alrighty, Storm up against the Warriors. Pappenhausen, didn't look too bad. Thoughts here, Glenn?
Yeah, I thought Pappenhausen was active. It didn't roll out into points, but I thought he did enough for me to, if I was an owner, to hold, especially points per dollar. His price points is a solid price. And it was someone I considered. I mean, Pappenhausen would be my side every year. The fact he didn't goal kick this year and he's come back from so many injuries left me worried. But the Storm played well last week. They laid a good platform for him. They were against a very good defensive side. So it'd be interesting to see how it rolls out again this week.
100%. Roscoe, Harry Grant, mate, you've got him in your team, obviously. What are your thoughts? Do you obviously think I had a bad start to the year, but it's against a solid Penrith team, so I'm glad I got him still.
Yeah, I'm not too unhappy with his score. It was 8-0. Like, realistically, there was not really much happening. One try in the game. He still racked up 40 tackles, which is obviously where most of his points come from. But I think the attacking stats are going to come, and I'm just happy to hold him at the moment, at least up until I have their first buy, and then potentially have a look at moving him on just before, like, when their buy is, because it's just between, that sort of round and where Origin is. So potentially look to trade him maybe down to an Appy or I don't know, maybe even Jacob Little, because I thought he was good too. So we'll talk about him shortly anyway.
That's it. I guess one more real person I want to talk about, and this one was Joe Chan. What are your thoughts on there, Glenn? Or how do you think he played?
I thought he played very well. I don't think his Supercoach output's anything great. So personally, if you own him, hold him. I wouldn't be reaching out to buying him.
Yeah, all right.
Did he play 80 minutes?
No, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I think he came off at one point there. I was watching him for a bit, and I think he disappeared for a little bit. I think I saw someone else.
Because that would have been a concern if he played 80 minutes for 24 points.
Yeah. No, I don't think he did. I think he came off. I think he came off and back on again. I don't think it was a very long break, but I remember watching going on. I didn't play him, so I wasn't too concerned, but I wanted to make sure that he was getting the points he needs.
At one point, I had Katoa in my side, and I regret not holding him as well. Again, the second rowers this season, the price point, you couldn't do it. But Eli Katoa didn't disappoint. He looked good.
Real good. Tane Tuapiki from the Warriors. Nothing special, but I reckon got some decent points for his price point. Definitely get a nice pay rise before Chance goes back. Roscoe?
Yeah, I didn't play him like Glenn. Unfortunately, I would have taken the 50 every day of the week. And don't forget, he went off for HIA too. So, I think 50 minutes in 60 minutes or whatever it is he played, I think that's pretty good. I just don't know if I'll be playing him this week against the Storm though.
Yeah, I've got him on my bench this week. I played him last week, so Glenn, mate. When everyone wants to talk about RTS, mate, on his first game back for 2 years. How do you think?
Yeah, I thought RTS played well. He didn't play great. I mean, again, they were against the Panthers, who are one of the better defending sides, so I'm not too concerned by that. But the fact that
Sharkies, mate.
Sharks, sorry. Oh, they played the Sharks, Storm. Sorry, my apologies. But I thought Tuapeki, or however you say his name, was incredible. I mean, if he gets to keep his spot in that team in any way at all, he'll be one I'll be watching closely. I thought he was very active. He took the tough carries. He wasn't scared to run up the middle. He had a really good step, and he's active in the plays down in their 20. So, yeah, I liked him. Yeah, RTS I thought was good, mate. If you own RTS, I wouldn't panic. He will get better as it goes on. There's a few good standouts in that side. I thought the Warriors were incredible last week against the Sharks, first half anyway.
I thought they were the better team, to be honest with you, really.
They were.
Tohu Harris was outstanding as well, and played 80 minutes as well. Him and AFB both just that forward pack is so good. Barnett, like it's just it's a gun pack. They're going to
play 80, did he?
Yeah, he did. They're going to miss AFB big time next season. Massively miss him.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's so much effort from AFB. That was so good to watch. And I'm not going to go any further without talking about my man Luke Metcalf. What a gun he is. I think in a reasonably low scoring game to get a nice score of 70 there. Pretty happy with that. So
he looked good.
But yeah, he did. I think he looked real good. I think my fear though, and this is going to be a fear that I reckon we'll have, is SJ definitely has a habit of stealing points when it comes to that creativity side of things. But I think there's a lot of points in the Warriors, so I think they can be enough to share around. So, all righty, let's move on to the second last game of the week. We got Manly up against the Roosters, and your boy Turbo. What do you think? It's like another battle of the fullbacks, Turbo versus Teddy this week. Glenn, mate, How do you think Turbo's going to go this week?
Oh, I think he'll do well. I mean, the Roosters looked really good last week, but I just think that Turbo will step up. It's against Teddy, you know what I mean? They're the two hardest working fullbacks in the game, so they'll both be working plenty up the middle.
I think,
it'll be interesting.
well, I think you'll
I've got
find
him
as
as
well.
captain this week.
Yeah, I think you'll find as well that there's obviously a lot of talk about will Teddy still be the captain for the Blues? Because there's all that talk around there. I think Turbo's gonna be like, who's coming back to take that. Turbo wants to take that spot, I reckon. So there's gonna be a battle of the fullbacks this year. And it's gonna be good to watch. All right.
Yeah,
Tommy Talau, Roscoe, you mentioned him a little bit earlier there. Definitely an option there to jump into your team if you need someone.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. For me, it's a wait and see. Especially the matchup's not great either against the Roosters, to be honest with you. But I like the fact that he's outside Garrick though too, and we saw how well Garrick played at Vegas. He was just on another level. Like I think the price point obviously scared a lot of us away, but we didn't think he was going to score well in the centres either. But I think I want to have a look at him and see how he goes because it could be Salmon to allow next week, depending on what happens, possibly, or it could be Hutchinson to maybe one. So
yeah, I will say on Ruben Garrick, there was talk about him not being the best scorer in the centres with the history that he has in the centres. But if you remember correctly, he was never that good at fullback when he first started. He's had a full preseason playing centres. He's one of those guys that puts a lot of work in the training, and he will get that timing right and get that position right, and he's going to be a gun center. I can see it now because he's had a full preseason there. So I reckon he'll be good. I'll be one of the guys I'll be first to put my hand up and say I thought it was going to fail, but he's looking real good there.
That combination on that side between DCE, Turbo, Garrick, and Buddy Olakau'atu, that is just deadly. I'd love to own every single one of them in my team. All of them. Olakau'atu is just in beast mode there. So he's if he doesn't make the Origin team this year, then there's concerns.
Yeah. Anything to add there, Glenn?
Luke Brooks. I just want to say I told you so.
He only got 40-something points.
He was terrible. Everyone was talking about, he's a gun. He's going to be good at the. His first move in the first 20 minutes, he touched the ball like once, and then he puts a kick.
Yeah, his first 20 went good, but his last 40 were great.
He missed the ball in his kick. Everyone was saying, you almost set Turbo up for a try. He missed the ball with his foot, got his shin. It was like put the Benny Hill music on in the background. But yeah, he did turn out.
I'm going to say Luke Brooks every week for every pod this season, guys. Luke Brooks will be one of the standout players of Manly this year. You heard it from me.
You're going to see that as that happens every single week when you watch him digress, you're going to stop saying that and you're going to realise it.
I agree with you NRL-wise, but I don't agree Supercoach-wise. And I'm going to stick
I know, not Supercoach-wise. I just want to see him do well. Like, I'm sick of him being a whipping boy.
Yeah, I'll stop whipping him then for you, Glenn. I'm sorry, mate.
Just one other player I'd like to mention. Two other players I want to mention, actually. I mean, I thought Burbo, running really good lines, has done enough to keep that Schuster out of the side. And I actually thought Koala, who was turning up on both the left and right side of the field, looked pretty dangerous as well. He's a good player, that kid.
Yeah, well, we had a word that before that he was given that license to roam to try to take advantage of that speed. Because even though he's obviously very, very fast, we still think top speed. We've got Saab has him, but I think Cooler has him in acceleration because he's got those shorter legs to get up to speed faster. So I think having the acceleration on both sides of the field is just going to be scary to go up against as a defensive team.
And I believe he's got the natural talent. I don't believe he's got the smarts to be playing left and right yet. I mean, when Turbo played left and right of the field, Turbo knows where to be. You know what I mean? There's a lot of experience behind that kid. With Koala, he doesn't quite have it yet. You can see he was trying to find himself on the left and the right, but he doesn't quite know where to be yet. But once he does obtain that talent, be interesting.
Hey, listen, Dan, luckily Linus has got Saab covered in pace. Don't worry about that.
When he gets a 200-meter head start, sure. No. Love it. Alrighty, let's move on to the Roosters, guys. We got James Tedesco at fullback. Wasn't looking too bad. He actually played pretty well. What are your thoughts there, Roscoe?
No, he looked good. I mean, like you said, Dan, he's got a lot of pressure on him to hold that fullback spot for New South Wales. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's any threat there. I think he's still got a lot of footy left in him. He's the captain of the team. And, I think he'll be there definitely again this year no matter what. I don't see anything else changing. They'll have Turbo in the centres. They'll have Latrell in the centres too, most likely. So, yeah. But I did like what I saw from him. He looked really dangerous. The Teddy of old, but I liked it. He's still one of my favourites, even though you're banned in the Tigers. He's still one of my favourite players.
Yeah, 100%. Glenn, mate, anything else to add on the back to you?
No, not really. I thought Manu stood out, and I thought Tedesco. I mean, we know Tedesco's always going to base well because he takes so many hit-ups up the middle. And but yeah, it was vintage Teddy, and it was good to see. I mean, we're all fans of Teddy.
Yeah, so you look at in the forwards, we got Jared Hargraves back from suspension. Obviously, good timing considering we won't mention. So it's been enough all over the news anyway. Let's not mention that fiasco crap. And we've got Terrell May back to the bench as like he was last week. Another option there. The big one tier though, the reason we highly own one tier, Siu Wong and Tili Tupanua. It looks like Tupanua has been training with the boys. Looks like he's healed, ready to go. Thoughts there, Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to know, isn't it? I mean, Tili Tupanua is a plotter, but he's still a player that's been done well in Supercoach. I own him because of the price point, points per dollar. I think it's worth it. But we don't get to see the rotation properly last week because both of them went down. I still believe that they're sharing that spot. I'm just not sure. I mean, I was more confident of it last week than I am this week. The bench looks like White and Afu come through the forwards. May, and White come through the forwards. There's a chance that Butcher could come through at lock maybe.
Yeah, well, it looks like the way they were starting to do the rotation before Tupanua went off was Butcher did go into the middle and did go into the lock position there. And then it's hard to tell because he did move on to the edge when Tupanua came off 3 minutes in the second half. So
the part that concerns me, Dan, is that Angus Crichton and Egan Butcher sit in that extended squad. And I mean, Egan Butcher's the bigger one. I mean, I know Angus has been spoken to by the coach to show he wants to play first grade. But Egan, I personally would have started Egan in that starting side.
Yeah. Alrighty. So Terrell May, I will touch on him before, but he's very popular trading options this week. Definitely, I think we need to not avoid. I think we need to wait still. I think there's time. He's not going to go up in price, and the fact that there was those injuries last week, he could revert back to that that lower minutes there, which is more than likely going to happen. So, especially when you think Butcher would have been playing in the middle, then moved to the edge. So that's why Terrell May had to stay on and replace Butcher. So, but yeah, I think
the rotation was all over the place because even Bradley played 80 minutes, and Bradley wouldn't normally play 80 either. But he was on an edge at one stage as well, with Long and Tupanua were both off. So it's all over the shop.
Alrighty, let's kick off the last game of the week with the Dolphins versus the Dragons. Hamaso wanted to show off his soccer skills last week and kick it to the. It was good to watch.
Is that why he got one Dally M point for the try assist, was it?
Yeah, it was a try assist, man. It was a good try assist. You got the try assist for Lukey. You guys should be happy. But I think Herbie in the first half definitely looked really good. I think he got a bit, not much happened in the second half for him, but in the first half, Herbie looked really good. But I think it might be definitely a wait here. I reckon Herbie drops in price a little bit. And as the team start getting better combinations, I reckon he'll be really good. And just as what we thought with Jack Bostock, I think. Very low base, but has the opportunity to score some tries. Glenn?
Yeah, I didn't like anything I saw from that Dolphins team, mate. Jack Bostock's about the only one, I think, points per dollar that made any sense to me. Jeremy Marshall-King was the other one. But everything else I didn't like. I thought Hammer played well. And Aiken's interesting at second row. Is he available at centre wing?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that one could be an interesting pod move if you wanted something in the centre wing. But I didn't like what I saw from this team. I see a lot in the Dragons, but not in the Dolphins, mate. From a Supercoach perspective, I really don't.
I do think
I don't
Flegler had
know
a
the
pretty
end of
good
the
game,
year.
though. I thought Flegler had a pretty good game. A guy I didn't have in my team, but was actually did play all right.
Yeah,
He got the
sorry,
try. He
he
got the
did, and I
try, but
missed
his
Flegler.
PPM was good.
Yeah, just with the bye coming up is my worry about
Oh
Flegler.
yeah, that was the reason why I avoided having Flegler, because I wanted to get my team playing a full team playing every week as long as possible.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Anything else, Roscoe, that you want to? I guess one beginning we could say is that Solon Sullivan's not in the team there, so we've got Isaiah Katoa coming in for Sean Sullivan.
I can't believe that. That's
I
a hor-
thought
that's a
Nick
horrible
Garima was the
finish.
problem.
Oh, that's. I don't know what Wayne's doing there. Why would you drop Sean O'Sullivan? He was way better than Buddy
Nick Garima,
Nicarima
100%.
was.
Yeah, I
Oh
agree.
my God! Like, and I think it's good to see Avrilo get a crack too over Tessie New, because he was pretty average. Avrilo might be one to keep an eye on at some stage too if he gets cheap enough as well.
I think
Once they
Tessie New was found out in defence.
yeah, once they get that combination going between him and Buddy Hammer, there could be good. But as I said earlier, Josh Kerrs, I don't know why so many people are jumping on him. Like 75 points with a try in the line break. But in saying that, I think
You got 49 in base.
Yeah, you have 49 in base in 40 minutes. That's not bad, and it's not a
Yeah.
bad price. So if you've got the
Yeah.
combination of Arrow and say Spencer Linu, then I don't hate going to Josh Kerr, but I wouldn't be expecting that every week from him.
Yeah, I'd want to wait and see myself. I mean, Kerr has had them kind of games before and then plods off.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Dragons. Looked really, really good on the weekend. I think they're playing a lot happier. Hence, that was my little eye test reason for getting Ben Hunt in my team. Sloan looked pretty good, but I think Zach Lomax has taken it personally. He wants that center position back. He went hard. He played real well, Glenn.
Yeah, I thought Lomax was good, and I always thought he would be at the wing. When you're bringing the ball back, you're going to lift your base, and he was everywhere, wasn't he? Goal kicked well. He got some nice tries. I thought him and Flanagan looked good. I was impressed by both, to be honest.
Roscoe, you touched on him a bit earlier, mate. Little, you said you like the look of him.
I did. I thought he looked really good. And he's still potentially going to play close to that 80 minutes too. He was one that I was a bit concerned about starting just because of having a backup hooker on the bench. But I thought he was really, really good. Ran the ball, dummy half. He looked really solid. He definitely one I'll be keeping an eye on when buy comes up for the Storm with downgrading Harry Grant potentially. So the other one we should speak about probably, Dan, is Farron Mariner too, because he's highly traded in this week too, and he's on the bench as well.
Yeah, can you see that staying that way though after how he played last week? Do you see?
Well, I think one or two things are going to happen, and because it's the last game, you're not going to know, and you're stuffed if it happens.
Yeah.
Is it either Lucy or RFM comes into that edge spot for Isonuth, but I just don't know which one. And with it being the last game, it's very risky to be trading RFM in, because if he does start on the bench and you play him, you're not going to get decent minutes out of him coming off the bench. You might get 20, 30 minutes, maybe max.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luciano will move into that spot for Eisenhower, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of them will. But
yeah. There'll be a late change for sure. And I agree with you on Little. I thought he played very direct and up the middle. He was defending well. I was impressed, actually. I've
always rated him, even when he was at the Tigers. He was good there as well. He's always been good.
He's had that potential for so long, but he's kept getting so many injury setbacks.
Yep.
Like so many. I was so sorry for the guy because he just kept copping it, but he stuck with it, kept going back, and he's been. Well, this is his second season now. That I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood. But he's been looking good for a couple of years now. Like he's getting more minutes and looking.
Yeah,
he's a very good runner of the ball.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And I got one last player I'd like to have a crack at talking about, because I won't talk about Ben Hunt too much in my pod. But is Kyle Flanagan. Looked pretty good. Got a sneaky little try there. Everyone fell for that dummy. Roscoe.
Yeah, no, he did look good. Another one that I'll be keeping an eye on, but at the moment I've got Dylan Brown and Lachlan Galvin there. But unless something drastically happens with Dylan Brown and he starts to stink it up, then I probably wouldn't move him on. you know, he's still got decent base in him as well, as we all know. He's probably the best base of any of the 5'8" in the comp. Once those attacking stats comes and those combinations come, the points are going to come too. But, you know, well done to those who did go Cole Flanagan. He did look good. I've got to say that. He did. So he did definitely surprise me. But the Dragons did surprise me this game, and the Trollers as well. So, yeah.
I think they're just playing happier. I think they had a cultural, horrible culture last year, and then I think they just needed to get, become, maybe if they were off scene in a movie or something like they have in those, the sport movies where all the teams hate each other and they go to camp and they bond and they're all happy with each other again. That's what I feel like.
Playing very tough footy. I like what I'm seeing from the Dragons, and I think that should create a lot of room for both them halves. They've got a fairly nice draw, and I've got Flanagan and Brown myself. Another one.
I also rate Flanagan. Flanagan's a good coach as well. He's a smart coach too. So they won't make the 8 this year, I don't think, but they'll go close. But I think in the next couple of years they can really get going. That will be a decent team.
Won't make the 8, but I agree.
But the other one I wanted to speak about quickly, Dan, I thought that was really good. It didn't show it in points. Was Moses Suli. He was like another forward out there. He was just in beast mode.
And Sewer.
Yeah, they were just the backs were just doing like almost what Panthers do, just those hit ups after hit up after hit up, taking the pressure off the forwards. Yeah, they were looking solid. Those backs. Even Ravalawa, he wasn't going his side as much as it should have done, but didn't need to. It had Lomax was just destroying it. So, alrighty, guys, that about wraps everything up. Anything else we want to talk about before we finish up?
Our trades quickly, or if we're making any.
I'm not making any trades. That's why I wasn't going to let you guys talk.
Yeah, well, same. I'm going to go Stilly Tupanua to Lane. I think that's my only trade.
Yeah, I think that's. I like it. I just want to. Every player that I'm having doubts about, they're just doubts. And that's why I want to wait one more week, and that's literally all it is. I hate getting that trigger button. If I knew that there was a ton of players that I didn't have that were going to make cash, let's say there's going to be 4 players next week that were going to make cash, then I need to get 1 or 2 in now.
I know that the Titans are on the bye this week too, but there's a lot of panic trading for me happening with Bo Firma too. You got to remember that Kieran Foran wasn't there. He didn't get as much ball as he usually should, and I think you should just hang on to him for now. I'm going to give him a couple of weeks and see how he goes first. Then I'll move him on if I need to.
What was that young fella's name that played at 5'8" before? What was his name? I can't remember. Really.
Weaver.
Weaver, yeah. Like it was like run. That's what it was.
But he kept going to the right. He kept going to the right. So Firma saw no ball.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm happy with Firma still, because we know what Foran. Yeah. Foran's that guy that he'd rather not get hit hard and rather pass the ball. So.
Yeah.
Any trades for yourself this week, Ross?
It'll be Arrow to either Tyrrell May or Stefano.
Okay, like that.
I like Stefano.
Bit of a pod move. All right. And me, I've already said it. No trades for me this week. I'm going to save them. I think head to head more my style. I want to try and focus on head to head, so I'll be holding on to those trades as long as I can. Captain's choices. I'll go first. I've got the VC on Nico Hines, and I'm going into Ponga. I'm going to give Ponga a second crack. So, Glenn?
I'm going the same Hines, except I'm going to captain Turbo. I might or Ponga, but I think it's going to be Turbo for me versus the Roosters.
Yeah. I was thinking about potentially going the Trell or VC, but then I just like the idea of having Ponga as another option as captain. So,
yeah.
Yeah, versus the Dogs too. I like it.
Yeah. Roscoe, captain, vice captain.
Listen, I'm just asking for a friend. Do you think I can VC Cleary and captain Hines?
Yeah, do it.
No, it'll be Hines into probably Turbo. I'd say will be where I'll be going.
If I see some weird VCC thing happen, I know you bribe Sangster somehow and manage to get some kind of loophole. Like, can you just make him a jewel this week for me?
Yeah.
He's actually really nice, Sangster, by the way. We met him down at the Hilton. He's actually a really nice guy.
I actually
say that like you. I love how you
Don't tell
said
him I said that, though.
I actually ran into him at Magic Round last year. That was the first time I'd actually met him. But yeah, so no, he's a nice guy. Despite all the shit he gets given about the heap of shit, but he's a nice guy. Even Rob was too. Rob Sutherland's a top bloke as well. He's a nice
It'd be
guy
funny,
as well. Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, let's finish up there on the high note there. We'll meet, I hope everyone sees some green arrows, and thank you, Roscoe, for coming on, mate. It's always good to have you on, and always, as always, Glenn, loved having you on, mate. So thank you very much for joining in. All right, guys,
Too easy.
peace out.
I've got to go.